Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in red and black. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Than the drunk obnoxious Georgia band.
What's up, y'all? This is John, Mike, and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast, as always on Sundays, live on Millions and as a part of the Fans First Sports Network. Tonight, we are recapping the worst failure of the United States Army since the 1970s, talking about the Heisman, and honestly, what we do in these episodes is we normally get way off topic and find a way to bring it back, so that'll probably happen again.
Almost certainly.
Before we get into anything else, I want to give y'all an update on the schedule because trying to do some different stuff this week with the playoffs starting next weekend. So obviously you're listening to this probably on Monday. On Monday night, we are recording an episode with an interview for the Tennessee and Ohio State game. That's going to come out on Tuesday. On Wednesday night, we are recording an interview for the SMU and Penn State game. That will be posted on Thursday. And then Friday morning, our picks episode will come out. And as of right now, the Frog Doctor is going to be on with us for winning the first
go.
Yeah.
He is legitimately a professor at a university, so things could change this late in the season, you know.
They don't have classes right now.
They might have finals. I mean, he does like labs and goes out in the field with his students and collects samples and all sorts of
Nerd.
stuff.
Yeah, right.
Man,
I've been done for
the Frog Doctor. He is a legitimate Frog Doctor.
I've been done for like 3 weeks, so let's go.
Did you ever start as a PE teacher? Like, has work been hard for you?
No. No,
I'm talking about as a student.
I'm talking about grad school. I've been done for like 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, PE. Like y'all know.
But yeah, so we did try to get an interview for all 4 of the playoff games happening this weekend. But hockey game on Thursday night for me, leaving town Friday because Christmas is in the middle of the week next week, so we're doing Christmas this weekend. It's not working out with the time to get everything in, and honestly, trying to coordinate 4 interviews and 2 other episodes in the matter of 7 days is it's a lot when you have a full-time job on top of it. So we got 2. Maybe next year we'll get 4, but this year we got 2.
You know, 2 is better than 0, as they say. Still a slam-packed week of shows.
It will be. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. I will probably not be drinking because I'll go ahead and tell you all about my weekend. Had family in town. Friday night, we went out to Huckapoo's on Tybee. Mike knows about it. If you want to get the local vibe of Tybee, go to Huckapoo's on a random night in the off season, like not tourist season, and you'll just see locals on a minimum of 2 substances.
I thought Huckapoo was that fake cryptocurrency the Hawk Tuah girl came up with.
No. Huckapoo's is a pizza place on Tybee. The building looks like it should be condemned. It is held together by dollar bills stapled to the wall and ceiling. But really good pizza considering where it is and what it is. And one of my friends that's still in the Guard got back from deployment like 2 weeks ago, and Friday night was his first week back. And he works at Huckapoo. So needless to say, I drank for free all night. And the hangover ended at the same time Army's chances did yesterday. So I have some hot tea next to me. And also, I'm pretty sure I did permanent damage to my vocal cords at the Georgia Tech game because every night I start to lose my voice at about 8:30. So,
well, that does mean you did your job. So
thank you.
Right.
I just wanted to say, first of all, Bills Mafia.
And fuck you. But
we love James Cook around here.
we do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was a hell of a game, though.
And
Yeah,
that
it
Dalton
was.
Kincaid one-hander was nuts.
That
Insane.
broke my heart. Golly, man.
Oh, man.
I really do hope that's the Super Bowl rematch because I don't think anybody really wants to see a Lions Chiefs Super Bowl, but
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to see a Chiefs anybody Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Took the words out of my mouth there.
Yeah. I went to a Mexican restaurant the other night. I won't name it because they're not paying us money.
No
But
free ads.
yeah, but I don't know. I was listening to a playlist on the way there. I have a playlist on my Spotify called Dad Flicks and Chill, which is just, it's not like the Nickelback and Creeds. I have a different playlist for those. It's like Matchbox 20, Goo Goo Dolls.
Like Sum 41.
No, I don't. Yeah,
Oh.
those are a little too pop punk for
Okay.
that. I've got a separate pop punk.
Early alternative.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
You know, dad music from that, Lifehouse, stuff like that. So we go into this Mexican restaurant after we get out of the car and walk in, and one of the songs that had just played on my playlist was playing in there, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's kind of funny. We get through it, and as we're sitting there, I notice not every song that plays is on that playlist, but about 70% of them are, and the other 30% are by artists that are on that playlist.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like somebody took my playlist somehow and smart shuffled, and I don't know if that's a technology these restaurants have to like find patrons' Spotify playlists and play them.
It's just a glitch in the matrix. It's fine.
Yeah, one of those moments, you know. But it's like, and it's like when you dream, and in your dream you're going out in public and all you hear is music you know really well. That's, you know, one of those things. So very, very strange occurrence, but you know, I somebody working at that Mexican restaurant obviously has good taste. But anyway, other than my completely pointless story, I have been great, and I'm just drinking some water because obviously I've been drinking too much if that's my experience at a Mexican restaurant.
I mean, that was really just your sign to get like 5 margaritas.
Right.
That's fair too. If Matchbox 20 is coming on the speakers, just knock down some tequila. Who cares?
I mean, obviously, I'm not drinking at all.
Champagne.
No.
You're drinking champagne.
Yeah, but champagne of beers, right?
Yeah. Gotta celebrate that Bills win over the Lions somehow, right?
Son of a bitch. You know what? Okay, like I was saying before, you know, 11 game win streak. It was about to end at some point. It's okay. It's an AFC loss. I'm not super worried about it, but right now the Lions do have the tiebreaker over Philadelphia, so it's all good. But Detroit still has to play Chicago, Minnesota, and San Francisco. So it's going to be a tough stretch. Maybe not San Francisco. We'll see. Bet some money in that game. But yeah, man. Sheesh.
I will say, I feel like the NFL personally, like as a entire entity, hates me personally. This is the first time I have had the ability to sit down and watch football on a Sunday, pretty much all day. And
I was gonna say, typically the Falcons would make you feel that anyway.
Well, I'm not a Falcons fan.
Oh, that's true. You're a Packers guy.
Correct, and they're about to kick off, so if I'm looking down, it's because of that. But no.
For the record,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. I thought you denounced them. Wait a second.
I follow them. I follow them.
For the record,
I don't call myself a fan. I could pull the camera up and do a 360 of this room with all my sports memorabilia hanging up, and there is nothing Packers on the wall.
Okay.
I do have a signed jersey sitting on a table over here that is not hung up, but that was bought for me like 10 years ago. So
fair enough.
Dude, I may have a Bill Goldberg jersey coming to me pretty soon.
Let's go. Falcons or Bulldogs?
No, the Bulldogs one.
Of
signed
course.
Bill Goldberg jersey. I might get that framed. We'll see how that goes in the next day or two.
Nice. For the record, by the way, the Eagles get Washington, Dallas, and New York the last 3 weeks. So y'all better go 3-0.
So
well, damn.
All right, Washington has a chance.
Yeah.
What we all thought we would be saying at the beginning of the season, Washington has a chance.
I just
Yeah, right.
hope Jalen Carter picks Jaden Daniels up again. That's all I want from that game.
Yeah, right.
So the reason I think the NFL hates me personally, once again, first time I've been able to sit down and watch the NFL pretty much all season. Steelers Eagles game, right? George
Mhm.
Pickens been going off all season, one of the better receivers in the NFL this year.
Hey, he didn't play.
Yeah, didn't play.
Yeah.
When the Chargers played the other day, you know who didn't play?
Last.
Vlad McConkey. That was the first real full
Yeah.
game I've sat down and paid attention to this year was the Chargers without Vlad McConkey. And then
Lame.
today, at one point it looked like the Bills were just going to run away with it, so I switched over to the Eagles Steelers like, "Oh, let's watch George Pickens." And never mind.
At least you still got to watch N'Kobe Dean and Nolan Smith and all those guys.
Yeah.
Facts.
That I did enjoy that because
Yeah.
there on the one turnover play, there was a camera shot where all you saw was Nolan Smith, N'Kobe Dean, and Jalen Carter. Those were the only three Eagles players you saw in the camera shot, and I was like,
Nice.
hell
Oh,
yeah.
Dan Jackson's gonna fit so well there next.
Oh yeah. Can't wait for them to draft Dan Jackson.
Yeah.
Dan Jackson, his only job on the Eagles is punt.
He's taking whistle.
He's a punt gunner, and all he does is takes off and tries to kill the person with the football.
That's his rookie year. He's going to be starting safety year
Somewhere.
3.
Somewhere.
Mark my words. With the
Right.
Philadelphia Eagles.
So Brian Dawkins wishes he could be Dan Jackson.
For real. Someone called Dan Jackson our defensive Stetson the other day, and I'm not
Ooh.
mad at it.
No, yep, you can't be mad at that whatsoever. All right, now that we've had our fun, except for Mike, he's just had a lot of pain.
Yeah.
It's time to bring me some pain. Because for Army Navy, this Army team, with the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line, and they deserved the Joe Moore Award this season. They really did. First in the country in rushing offense, second in sacks allowed. Phenomenal all year. They've lost multiple guys to injuries and still played phenomenally. Bryson Daly finished 6th in Heisman voting. And a running back in Kanye Udo, who turned down Power 5 offers to go to Army. Lost to a Navy team that has lost 3 games this season. Came into this game with Blake Horvath being injured. And to be honest, statistically, Navy should not have been much competition. And this was a failure to prepare for Army. Army's defense allowed 11.9 yards per attempt passing to a service academy. Inexcusable. The defense that allowed 14 passing touchdowns all season allowed 2 against the team with 131st passing offense in the country. They allowed an injured quarterback to run for 204 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt. The defense that was allowing 15 points per game, and if you take out the Notre Dame game, they allowed 11.9 points per game. Gave up 31 to Navy.
Yeah, I think Gary said something about like there hasn't been neither team has scored 21 in this game since like 2019, something like that.
Yeah, 2019 was a great game, but
yeah,
this was an abysmal game for Army, and it really makes me question how much some of these guys cared about winning this game after winning the conference last week. Obviously, a lot of the guys did because, I mean, Bryson Daly broke a finger on his non-throwing hand and was bleeding the entire game and was still out there fighting his ass off. But and then, right before the game on Saturday, Marshall pulled out of the bowl game, and they were potentially not going to have a bowl game if somebody didn't step up and take Marshall's spot. And then, La Tech stepped up at around halftime of that game. With the talent level difference of these two teams, either Navy schemed up the best game of their last decade, or Army had some mental commitment issues for this game.
Yeah, very much could have been both, too.
Fair.
Probably would have taken some combination both to make it look like it did. But yeah, I enjoy watching this game every year without a dog in the fight. My favorite uncle went to West Point. My grandpa went to Annapolis. So, like, I just hope both teams have a good time.
They did not.
Army, they did not. Army definitely did not. But they've done a ton of cringe things the last week.
They have.
They tried to make a hype video with Gen Z slang. They lied about a Department of Defense nominee. So just in terms of karma, they kind of deserved to lose like they did for that. But can you imagine though? Can you
What
imagine?
happens when you leave officers in charge of things?
Yeah, very true. But can you imagine if they had beat Notre Dame earlier this year?
Oh boy.
I imagine we're looking at them. They get in the playoff, possibly a first round bye after that, and then go into this game after the playoff bracket is already set in stone and get killed.
I think that if they had beaten Notre Dame and were in the playoff,
Might have
I
had some
think
more fire.
the mental commitment would have been different.
That's probably true. They're looking at season's over because we didn't get in the playoff potentially.
And
it's hard.
when the game started, they didn't have a bowl opponent. They were like, all right, this is probably the last game of the season. We won the conference, and the game's over, and they realize they're playing Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is Louisiana Tech did step up, so they've got a chance to sort of rebound and prove they're better than they were.
Yeah. No, huge shout out to Louisiana Tech because their semester's already over. So they're calling players back to the facility to get ready for this bowl game, and I know Army appreciate it.
Yeah. I like their campus at Louisiana Tech, just as a side note. They've got a nice thing going on over there.
Like why did Marshall fight so hard in the Sun Belt Championship game for them to just drop out of this bowl game? Like Georgia Southern would have played so much better.
Well, did you hear about the coaching situation at Marshall?
Yeah.
They basically decided not to renew their coach's contract, and
wild. But yeah,
I know, insane considering the year they've had.
Mm-hmm.
And the coach said, "I'm gonna take my ball and go home," and the ball was the entire team.
Entire roster.
Yeah.
Entire team.
Which shout out to the entire team and not the Marshall admin for sure.
Speaking of a player that went with a coach.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to get into the Heisman. And depending on your specific opinion on this, my take is probably going to piss you off. Because Travis Hunter won the Heisman, and some people are probably upset about that because, honestly, they just subconsciously hate Deion and how he's gotten where he is and the behavior of his team, most of his team. And to be clear, I also don't like Deion for that reason.
Right.
The team, for the most part, has negative discipline, not even 0%, negative discipline. Yeah. He allows his kids to essentially run the locker room as players, which is you get what you get when you start doing that.
Yeah.
But
Travis Hunter's never struck me as one of those guys, though.
No. And everything that I've ever heard about him, and I told I don't remember if I put it in the group chat or not, but his mom and stepdad live in Savannah, and his stepdad did say one wild thing to the person I know that knows him. But outside of that, he comes from a good family that raised him right, and he literally said he doesn't listen to music. He watches film, he watches football, and he goes to school. And that it doesn't seem like he is he doesn't seem like he hangs out with Shadur outside of the facility a whole lot based on that.
Yeah.
But just to break it down, quite literally how insane Travis Hunter's season has been this year. He played 670 snaps on offense, 686 snaps on defense, which is a total of 382 more than the guy in second place.
Insane.
Yeah. He played more than 100 snaps in all 12 games this season. On the offensive side of the ball, he's 6th in receiving yards, 4th in total receptions, 2nd in receiving touchdowns. He averaged 12.5 yards per reception. I think you could very easily argue that he is a top 5 wide receiver in college football this season.
No doubt.
To me, when it comes to these postseason awards, it's one of those where you should take I think the same thing with the NFL MVP. If you put a middle of the pack player or even an upper end player in his spot this year, do they do that well? I don't think Colorado has close to the season that they have had with anybody other than Travis Hunter as their leading wide receiver.
No, you put Arian Smith in there, and they're 4-8 again.
You put Ryan Williams in there, and they're 7-5.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
Jeremiah Smith, like any of these young guys that are very good but don't have what Travis has. And on defense, he had 4 interceptions, 65 return yards on those 4 interceptions, 31 tackles, 11 passes defended, and it gave saving forced fumble on the goal line. And his defensive numbers aren't going to be gaudy, right?
They shouldn't be. He's a corner. The goal is for people not to throw the ball your way.
Yep.
Kamari Lassiter called.
Exactly. That's where I was getting to, because as Georgia fans, when we defend guys that get drafted really high, it's always, well, the offense avoids that guy on defense, which is exactly what happened this year. Travis Hunter took away half of the field.
Yeah, and for the record, that's what Kamari Lassiter is one of the better corners in the NFL right now. That's the kind of guy he was in college. That's what you want.
Bingo.
Yep.
But, and I mean, Champ Bailey, who was the closest to this type of player that Georgia has ever had, did a very long interview with ESPN a few days ago about Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And the conversation when Champ Bailey went to get drafted was, you're a corner that we may sometimes use on offense in special situations. The conversation around Travis Hunter is, you're
really
athlete.
great.
You just go do athlete things.
Yeah.
Do everything.
I mean, a very serious. I feel like even just saying there's a serious argument that he's the best two-way player of all time is undercutting it. Like,
so
he's top 2 and he ain't number 2.
Right.
So I looked back, or I read an article that went back through all these big name two-way players. And, a lot of people are saying Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard, Champ Bailey. But to get someone that has had the impact on his specific team the way Travis Hunter has, you're going back to the 40s.
Yeah.
Right.
With a guy that had like 800 rushing yards and 20 touchdowns. And then he was also a middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
Travis
they weren't letting black kids in football yet.
We will probably in our lifetime never see something like this again. So I understand he didn't lead the country in receiving this year. I understand he didn't lead the country in interceptions this year. We just witnessed something that our kids may not see.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at if you compare Travis Hunter to Charles Woodson seasons, like they're not even close. Travis Hunter blows Charles Woodson out of the water, and that's sacrilegious for me to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's true.
And Travis Hunter didn't return kicks.
Right.
Like he was just offense and defense, no special teams, and still did what he did.
Yeah.
And I will say, I think this is only the second or third time in the last probably 5-6 years, that the Heisman voters got it right. And like we were talking about just a second ago, anytime you're saying we haven't seen something like this since, but you're not saying like, oh, he was almost as good as Charles Woodson, or almost as, you're saying he has twice the impact on both sides of the ball that Charles Woodson, Champ Bailey, all these other guys had.
Like NFL Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Right. First ballot Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
He deserves all 3 trophies he got.
Yeah, shout out Collins Hill High School, man.
For real.
I disagree on that. Long story that it's also real stupid. So
I mean, I student taught there, so I have more of allegiance to them, but not like a lot. I can be bought.
Hey, Travis, you brought the team out on a private jet. Mike just wants like a jet Lego.
Like, please. I'm a simple man.
But I think the voters also got it right with Ashton Genty getting second place.
Yeah.
At this point, he's going to pass Barry Sanders' all-time record, something that most people, including myself and probably you guys, thought we would never see.
Yeah. The way college football is now.
Exactly.
And albeit more games, but yes, like it's still impressive.
Yeah. No one was saying that when Randy Moss broke Jerry Rice's records. It's all right.
Yeah.
Except Jerry Rice when Randy Moss no-showed his radio show, but that's for a different day.
Yeah. So now on to one of our favorite things on this show. Wild speculation based on something that I heard with hearing that the VA says I need hearing aids for.
Let's go. Who needs facts when you got speculation, man?
It's fun. And I tell people it's speculation, so take it with a grain of salt, you know?
Yeah.
But after Travis Hunter was announced as the winner, and, you know, he was going around dapping up all the other guys, he didn't say a whole lot to anybody except for Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
Right? And it sounded like he said, go win this shit. Specifically, I'm assuming talking about the playoff.
Yeah.
He didn't say that Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback for the number 1 seeded team in the country, just didn't really say much to him at all. And it makes me think that they have a relationship outside of knowing about each other and outside of watching film on each other and that sort of thing. And it makes me think that the reason almost every time that somebody asked one of these guys about the Heisman after like week 4, they talked about the other player.
Yeah.
Because this is a very narrative-driven award.
Mm-hmm.
If Ashton is talking about Travis and Travis is talking about Ashton, they're driving the narrative themselves, which, one, genius.
Yeah, kudos to them for that.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
But, you know, narrative-driven award, I do want to throw out a note. Regular guest on the show, friend of ours, Connor O'Gara, he is a Heisman voter. He talks about it on his show all the time, so I don't feel bad for putting that out there because Heisman voters normally stay private. But the reason he got the vote is because a couple years ago, he went off for like an entire episode on how the Heisman is failing college football, with it only being narrative and not stat-driven, not performance, not how good this actual player is. Because he believes the best player in college football, regardless of position, which, you know, the episode that they're doing next week is, or in a couple of days, I don't know when they're recording. They're going to spend a good chunk of the episode talking about his ballot and why he put guys where.
Yeah.
So he's not hiding in the shadows. He's going to say, here's what I did. Here's why I did it. This makes sense. Which,
I can think of a certain committee that really should be made to do the same thing.
I agree. It's called integrity. Not a lot of people have that anymore, especially in media.
Yeah, good old transparency. Who would have thought? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. I just went on a long rant about the Heisman and actually how I agree with the Heisman, which first time I've done that in a while. Do you guys have any takes on it?
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, if any other year, Ashton Genty probably wins this because, I mean, obviously just look at his stats, but the versatility of Travis Hunter is unprecedented. Especially, I mean, you talked about going back to what, 56 years ago.
So I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that was like the first Native American to compete for the Olympics for the U.S. Everybody learned about him in elementary school. Cannot remember his name to save my life, but he was like a 12-sport athlete and played in the early NFL. That's the last guy that had this amount of impact.
Yeah, I should know this.
I am currently Googling it. Jim Thorpe.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
God, how did we not? All right.
Yeah, there's a whole award with his name on it.
Well, that's why I'm a PE teacher, not a history teacher. Let's go.
Anymore.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, but I agree. I feel there was an interview years ago, and I promise this is relevant, so stay with me. After Matthew Stafford got drafted, somebody sat down with Joe Cox and like asked about his journey taking over the starting quarterback, and it's just like, it happens. You get all this 5-star hype, and you're expected great things, and then number one draft picks come in and take your spot, and that's just how it goes. And I feel like Ashton Jeanty's got to feel that way right now. Like, you did everything right, but this crazy talented freak of a man comes in and just is the best athlete in the country. What can you do,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the same thing with like Peyton Manning. Like if he would have played the year after, he would have won the Heisman, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, shout out to Ashton Jeanty, one, for staying at Boise State.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Like in an era where that doesn't happen, and he was getting phone calls with probably 7 digits in the
Yeah.
amount of money people were willing to pay him.
I was gonna say he's a great running back. Kirby Smart was looking for a transfer running back last year. I'm sure even that was on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he stuck it out. Comes from a military family, and part of the reason he didn't get recruited much out of high school is because he was playing on-base football in Italy for a decent chunk of his football career. And then his parents made the decision to move back to the States to help out his football career. And he goes to Boise State, gets second in the Heisman, takes his team to a first-round bye in the playoff. Like, insane kid.
Yeah. Nothing but respect for the man, and I hope he goes on and makes a lot of money in the NFL.
One of the only running backs over the last, 10 years that truly deserves to be a top half of the first round.
Oh yeah. I think, who was the last one to hit that mark? Was it Chubb?
Bijan.
Bijan.
Well,
All right.
Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs last year or 2 years ago.
Gotcha.
Would you rather?
But Jeanty deserves it more than all.
I was about to say, would you rather
yeah,
Jeanty
yeah.
more than Gibbs?
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
tell
yeah.
tell your team to lose out, and you might be able to get him.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather just get the Super Bowl, but yeah. Let's move
They're
on.
probably losing out anyways. It's fine.
Yeah, I was about to say,
You son of a bitch.
All right, so there were a couple of games this weekend that we feel like should be brought up. Jackson State won the HBCU National Championship at the Celebration Bowl.
First one ever, and no Dion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last one Dion coached, and they lost at the end of the game in heartbreaking fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbreaking if you like Dion.
Fair. And at the time, everybody liked Dion. It was really
that's
season
true.
in Colorado that
That's true. When he came to
people
Colorado, that's when he became a bit of a
Yeah.
Jackson State dominated the game this year. They won 28-7. They had 385 total yards to 178, 223 passing yards to 148, 152 rushing yards to 30. That looks like a Georgia versus Texas stat line there.
Sure does.
Yeah.
36 minutes of possession to 23. I know those numbers don't add up. I wasn't putting.
Yeah, it rounds at some point. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, this game truly was a game of domination. South Carolina State's offensive line just they couldn't stop a nosebleed. It was tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a rough one. And I thought for most of the day that this was the only other college football game on television. But
same.
Yeah.
Apparently we had some more good old fashioned American love the troops football games coming.
Yes.
I do want to mention, by the way, sorry, before we move on, since we didn't mention it, the opening kickoff return or a punt return very early in the game was run back for a touchdown, but then it was called back for a flag. But when the referee threw the flag, he gave a big salute and thanked the troops before he gave the call that undid the very exciting thing that any troops in the stands just watched. But just made it a whole day of loving our military folks, because that was probably the one game that didn't have anything to do with the military, and the referee decided to make it about them.
Yeah, indeed.
It's celebration. Celebrate whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because we know most people are not going to celebrate Cricket Wireless. Anyways, game that nobody knew was on, except for the fans of these teams. Everybody's watching the Heisman ceremony. It gets over. sitting there talking to the people on the couch like I was. And the next thing you know, they said, Capital One Bowl Mania starts now with the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. I was like, what? I'm game. Let's
Yeah,
go.
sure.
Man, it was such a good game too. It was so much fun. South Alabama and Western Michigan put on a show. Came down to the very end of the game. Mike's other friends up there were very sad at the end of it, but Western Michigan has the worst bowl record of any team that has made it to 10 bowl games. They have made it to 12, and they have a 2-10 record.
Yeah, that seems about right.
2-11 after last night.
Insane.
But they made it, you know?
Yeah, hey, you get there. That's your reward for the end of the package.
Take one more L for the road.
Yep.
But I will say, I talked about this ad nauseum last night to my wife. South Alabama has done the best job of public image in all of college football. And I say that their acronym is USA.
America!
As
USA!
In Southern Alabama, everyone loves that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're red, white, and blue, too, aren't they?
Colors are red, white, and blue. And all of their alternate uniforms have patriotic flair to them.
Let's go.
Oh.
But not only that, unlike other teams in college football, specifically, I'm just going to call them out, Oregon and Kentucky, they tastefully use chrome colors on their uniforms. Yep. It's not like, hey, chrome is not one of our colors, but the entire helmet's going to be this week.
Right.
It's very tastefully use it, which in the world of Nike,
tasteful doesn't come along a whole lot.
So
I remember those pro combat uniforms.
Yep. But it's almost like when their team got started, they were like, all right, our acronym's USA. We are diving into the deep end. We're leaving nothing out there.
As they should.
I agree 100%. I think they do the best public imaging in all of college football.
Yeah.
And they had their best game, one of their best games of the season last night, on their backup quarterback, on their backup running back, and they lost 2 offensive linemen in this game with injuries. And the backup running back, former Ole Miss Rebel Kentrell Miller, 17 carries for 130 yards, 1 touchdown.
There we go.
Backup quarterback, Bishop Davenport, which all-time Southern football name.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was 15-24 for 271 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He also added 11 carries for 85 yards and another touchdown on the ground.
Man.
And the absolute star of the show for South Alabama, Jeremiah Webb. If you didn't watch this game, you're asking, who the hell is this guy? The impact he had on that game was Javon Bullard against TCU level of impact.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had no stats in the second half. Not a single one. In the first half, he had 6 receptions for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Man.
Literally insane.
You know what's crazy about that? That South Alabama beat a team 87-10 earlier this year. I mean, they've had sparks on offense like crazy. You want to know Jeremiah Webb's stat line in that game?
1 reception, 12 yards.
2 receptions, 74 yards and a touchdown. So not bad, but you know, this was a similar level of stepping up. Both of his receptions in that game, I think, were plus 30 yards. Maybe one of them was 25. But
oh yeah, no, there was one. It was like 3 plays after South Alabama got the ball back, and Bishop Davenport just launches the football down the sideline, and he's 3 steps in front of his guy, who just falls down, like trying to make the tackle, just grabs air, goes to the ground, and he walks in. It was one of the more impressive single half performances you can see from a wide receiver.
Oh yeah. I say that to say though, like they've had this explosive offense at times. You know, they'll score 87 in one game, 48 in one game, and then they'll score 16 against Arkansas State. So
And one of the big things about how explosive they are is their starting quarterback, Gio Lopez. He is the true sense of a dual threat quarterback at the group of five level. He will have just as many, if not more, rushing yards than passing yards consistently. Like, he's an insane athlete. But Bishop Davenport was just slinging the ball all over the place. And then when he had nothing, he was taking off for 6, 7, 8 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One thing you guys probably did not think you were going to hear tonight is quarterback controversy at South Alabama.
Yeah, let's go. Bishop Davenport for Heisman, baby.
We're big Bishop
what
Davenport
a name.
fans.
What a name.
Right.
But with
Let me click on his picture. He does not look like a guy that I would imagine would be named Bishop Davenport either, just looking at his picture now.
Nope. But back to Jeremiah Webb. I said this as soon as he had his first big catch last night. If he was not getting tampering phone calls as soon as the portal window opened.
Oh, it's happening now.
His phone is ringing like Stetson Bennett before that 2022 Tennessee game today. Because every coach in the country that saw that, or every staffer in the country that saw that, is offering a decent chunk of change for him to go play for their team.
Oh, yeah. Here, Kentucky needs a new receiver now.
Yeah, they do.
I would not be upset to see Jeremiah Webb in red and black because
we could use some. We could use some receivers.
Arian Smith speed with hands that catch footballs.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah, right.
Western Michigan did hold up their end of the bargain, though. They fought their ass off to come back in this game and got it back together with one possession down. Quarterback Hayden Wolf, who the announcers legitimately called a statue. They said he does not move.
They don't even say that about Carson Beck. They call Carson Beck like deceptively athletic and stuff.
Correct.
That's
they
just
said
crazy.
Hayden Wolf does not move. And he had 2, 3, 4 like long 12, 15-yard runs for first downs last night. And every time they were just astounded. And the third time it's like, guys,
clearly he can do this.
Yeah, like he may not have before, but we've seen it a few times tonight that he's capable of it.
Yeah.
Right.
He went 17 of 27 for 196, a touchdown and interception. But the way he played in the second half was significantly better than the numbers show. I think in the first half he was like 5 for 12. And then all of the rest of the numbers came in the second half where he did well and they got the run game going. But at the end of the day, South Alabama was just the deeper team. And even with all their injuries, the Broncos just had nothing for their running game or Jeremiah Webb.
Yeah.
Hard man to cover when he's that fast.
Yeah, he's the Webb. You're not getting him in your web.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, guys, if you're bored this week, go back and watch that game. We have a Tuesday at 9 p.m. bowl game. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's go.
My West Virginia Mountaineers are playing this week against Memphis, so that's probably not going to go well.
There you go. Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl.
Hey, at least West Virginia gets to get out of the mountains and go to Frisco.
Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Rich Rod will be on the sideline scowling and whatever.
There we go.
That's cool.
I hope Markiel starts that game. I think he is. Yeah. If he's not transferring, I think he needs to go ahead and get some more playing time.
Oh yeah. Wednesday night we've got. Oh yeah. Wednesday night we've got the no longer sponsored by Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl between Cal and UNLV, who sound like they should be in the LA Bowl.
Right.
Who would have thought the Cal and UNLV game would be an ACC team and a ranked team?
Yeah. And then the real GSU plays Sam Houston on Thursday night on ESPN2.
And the Bearcats are tough, so that'll be a good one.
Oh,
I think Georgia Southern's like a 6.5 or 7 point favorite in that game.
I don't know that I would lay those points.
Yeah,
Sam Houston's tough.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this episode. We're putting out a lot this week, so don't forget to check those out. Follow us on social media. Y'all know the links. If not, you can see them around on YouTube here.
Real quick, if the Penn State SMU game bores you on Saturday at 2 o'clock, D2 National Championship, Valdosta State is in it.
Again,
yes. So,
Again? Against Ferris State?
Yeah,
Michigan
my hometown
school?
team, yeah.
It's tough.
Mercer got knocked out of the FCS playoffs yesterday.
They did.
I turned it to that after Army Navy got disappointing.
And then that also got disappointing.
It did. But I forgot where I was at. So, as always, guys, remember there's nothing finer in the land
than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan. We tried.
Yeah.